This is a thought experiment. Let's say at some point in the not-so-distant future, you're barreling down the highway in your self-driving car, and you find yourself boxed in on all sides by other cars. Suddenly, a large, heavy object falls off the truck in front of you. Your car can't stop in time to avoid the collision, so it needs to make a decision. Go straight and hit the object, swerve left into an SUV, or swerve right into a motorcycle. Should it prioritize your safety by hitting the motorcycle, minimize danger to others by not swerving, even if it means hitting the large object and sacrificing your life, or take the middle ground by hitting the SUV, which has a high passenger safety rating? So what should the self-driving car do? If we were driving that boxed-in car in manual mode, whichever way we'd react would be understood as just that, a reaction, not a deliberate decision. It would be an instinctual, panicked move with no forethought or malice. But if a programmer were to instruct the car to make the same move, given conditions it may sense in the future, well, that looks more like premeditated homicide. Now, to be fair, self-driving cars are predicted to dramatically reduce traffic accidents and fatalities by removing human error from the driving equation. Plus, there may be all sorts of other benefits: eased road congestion, decreased harmful emissions, and minimized unproductive and stressful driving time. But accidents can and will still happen, and when they do, their outcomes may be determined months or years in advance by programmers or policymakers. And they'll have some difficult decisions to make. It's tempting to offer up general decision-making principles like minimize harm, but even that quickly leads to morally murky decisions. For example, let's say we have the same initial setup, but now there's a motorcyclist wearing a helmet to your left and another one without a helmet to your right. Which one should your robot car crash into? If you say the biker with the helmet because she's more likely to survive, then aren't you penalizing the responsible motorist? If instead you say the biker without the helmet because he's acting irresponsibly, then you've gone way beyond the initial design principle about minimizing harm, and the robot car is now meting out street justice. The ethical considerations get more complicated here. In both of our scenarios, the underlying design is functioning as a targeting algorithm of sorts. In other words, it's systematically favoring or discriminating against a certain type of object to crash into. And the owners of the target vehicles will suffer the negative consequences of this algorithm through no fault of their own. Our new technologies are opening up many other novel ethical dilemmas. For instance, if you had to choose between a car that would always save as many lives as possible in an accident, or one that would save you at any cost, which would you buy? What happens if the cars start analyzing and factoring in the passengers of the cars and the particulars of their lives? Could it be the case that a random decision is still better than a predetermined one designed to minimize harm? And who should be making all of these decisions anyhow? Programmers? Companies? Governments? Reality may not play out exactly like our thought experiments, but that's not the point. They're designed to isolate and stress test our intuitions on ethics, just like science experiments do for the physical world. Spotting these moral hairpin turns now will help us maneuver the unfamiliar road of technology ethics and allow us to cruise confidently and conscientiously into our brave new future.
Automation has no doubt made life easier for humans. But as we progress and develop new technologies that make our lives easier, we must ask ourselves, is the convenience worth it? Fiercely, the major risks that entails with automated cars is the security concern. These cars are prone to hacking and can be manipulated by the hacker at their will. Secondly, another security concern is just faulty systems. The program can be bad, which could cause harm to the passengers and pedestrians, and in such a scenario determining the wrongful party can be tough. Lastly, we will be reliant on the program's decision-making, and there will be cases where the decision made by the system is the wrong one. With this current boom and most major car companies moving towards self-driving cars, people should examine the scenarios that will be created due to this, as it is the safety of human life. The first part of the video will focus on the pros of self-driving cars. It's hard to believe, But according to data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in 2010, there are nearly 5.5 million car accidents per year in the United States. This translates to one death every 15 minutes, or around 88 per day. Self-driving cars are like machines which do not get tired or late for that date or important business meeting. A driverless car could drop you off, find its own parking spot, and come back to pick you up when you're ready. Driverless cars can decrease the number of accidents caused by a driver distraction because autonomous vehicles don't get tired, unlike their human operators. AVs are machines made to sustain hours of driving without stopping, and unlike human drivers, they don't need to sleep. The technology involved in self-driving cars could significantly improve road safety by reducing human error. Self-driving cars will be functioning without any attachment to emotions. We all experience road rage at some point in our lives. Whether you're usually the culprit or on the receiving end of it, those days will be gone. As there is no possibility of human error or distraction, it's likely there will be less accidents and reduced fatalities on the road, which many experts are describing as the biggest pro of self-driving cars. Drunk driving accidents would no longer occur, saving thousands of innocent lives. Similarly, driverless cars can prevent situations where drivers could have an accident caused by a medical event, seizure, stroke, etc. An autonomous car could monitor passengers, pull over, and call 911 if needed. Self-driving cars are able to constantly focus and have high attention span. Just because driverless cars are predicted to be safer, doesn't mean they will have to drive slowly. Quite the opposite. In fact, driverless cars could mean higher speeds on roads as computers are the ones doing the driving. Once again, less human error. Autonomous cars could save people time by improving the flow of traffic and allowing passengers to make phone calls, read, or catch up on work. When you ask anybody, the future of transportation includes high-speed, flying, autonomous cars. Although the flying part is currently being assessed and implemented via drones, let's focus on the high-speed part. There are now autonomous vehicles capable of accelerating over 170 miles per hour, which paves the way towards faster transportation. Driverless cars will allow for disabled and those less mobile to get around easier and comfortably. Driverless cars mean more freedom and less dependence on other people or forms of transport. Those with disabilities affecting their ability to drive would no longer have to rely on others or public transportation. Some people may not be able to reach the brake or grasp the steering wheel properly, thus increasing the number of hazards on the highways and city streets. Other human drivers are incapable of enduring the stress driving tasks can bring upon them. Driverless vehicles can ensure the safety of people who suffer from any certain incapacitation through automated driving systems. Self-driving cars will give fuel breaks and fuel savings, which is an economic advantage. Self-driving cars can save people a lot on fuels in comparison to traditional cars, as they are designed for fuel efficiency. Autonomous vehicles can be designed completely electric or dual-fueled, where electricity and gas are used as fuels for the AV. Depending on individual rider preferences, human drivers may want to drive completely electric autonomous cars or opt for the more flexible alternative that includes both fueling options. Now, let's move on to the cons that come with autonomous cars. Nobody would need to own a driverless car. Instead, a car share system could be implemented that would allow several families to share one vehicle. This would also mean vehicle maintenance costs could be shared. Thus, consequently, a reduction in pollution. Autonomous technology allows for AVs to drive and focus on many details that surpass a human driver's abilities thanks to their advanced driver assistance systems. For instance, self-driving vehicles serve as safe transportation systems because they can detect any construction zones ahead, traffic accidents and traffic jams that need to be avoided, and poor road conditions. On top of that, they can enforce safety standards with their autonomous systems that are beyond the capabilities of the average human driver.